All right. Good morning, everyone. If you haven't met me, my name is Caleb Logan. I am the Heritage Officer for the Clan Logan Society International. My email is up there because you'll be emailing me, as I'll explain at the end of this event. So just keep a note of that. I've been emailing you all regularly throughout this process, so you should already have it. In case you don't, it's right there on the screen, just heritage@clanlogansociety.org. And today we're going to be focused on getting to know the nominees for our Clan Logan Commander as they've come to us. We have three nominees currently and should cover the agenda for today first. Um, so all three nominees are here with us today. First, I'll be talking about deadlines for the convention as that concerns us all. After that, I'll get into some introductions of each nominee. And then we'll have a prepared question and answer session. Each nominee will have a minute per question. After that, we'll have time for the audience to ask any additional questions that you may have. You can do that by either typing your question into the chat and we'll read it after the prepared Q&A is over. You can also, after the prepared Q&A is over, raise your hand on Zoom as that function works. And if you have any questions about that, you can, again, just put it in the chat. At the end, I'll go over some concluding points and remind you of my email again at that point. Throughout this process, I do ask that you remain muted so that we can hear clearly from our nominees. So, a reminder for deadlines that are coming up for the convention. I know some of you may be attending virtually, so these don't apply to you. We do have several tours that will be taking place the day after the convention itself, the 26th of April. So the deadline to register for those is the 1st of March. I will note that the Outlander one has been full, but there is a wait list available. And so if we get enough people on the wait list, then we can open up a second round or a second group of people who can attend that outing. 1st of April 2025, that will be the deadline to register for the convention adjacent events. So the convention itself is free, but the actual banquet that follows the convention, as well as the Prosecco reception, that has a cost, as does the Kaylee. So you can register for both at once, and it's a little bit less expensive. Just remember that the deadline to register is the 1st of April. We've also partnered with Holyrood Distillery to work out a Logan labeled whiskey sale. So the deadline for that is the 1st of April as well. The deadline to register for the convention itself is the 13th of April. And then the deadline to tell me of your choice of commander nominees, as I've alluded to, will be the 16th of April. So just about a week before the actual convention. Now, as far as who the nominees are, today we have Stephen Logan from Montreal, Canada, Kevin Logan from Michigan, USA, and Robert Logan from Inverurie, Scotland. I'm going to stop sharing my screen very quickly, just so that you can hopefully get a better look at them in the Zoom screen. And let me introduce them a little bit more. So, Stephen, he was born in Quebec City and grew up to become an artist in English as a second language teacher. He seems to be a real jack of all trades. He's now a programmer for a very well-known telecoms company in Montreal. He's always been surrounded by people and enjoys participating in his community and making a difference. He especially uses his art to uplift others through education and creativity. He gets his passion for his involvement with Clan Logan from his mother, Margaret Logan. And as for Robert, Robert was born in Aberdeen, Scotland, and currently lives in Glasgow, near where his father was born. He has traced his paternal family from Glasgow back to the Erin and further back to Dalry in Ayrshire in the 1700s, but is hoping to further fill out the family tree. He is very excited to be starting a new professional role as the commercial finance director for the University of Glasgow and has been an accountant for more years than he cares to remember. He's married to a wonderful woman, Carrie. Those are his words, not mine, but I'll take him at his word. He has two sons in their 30s, and he's delighted that his family line is continuing as his first grandson was born last year. He's a very proud Scotsman and is a fellow of the Society of Antiquaries of Scotland, as well as other associations in Scotland, and his pride fuels his desire to support Clan Logan in finding a hereditary chief. When he's not busy with work and with all of his other obligations, he's a keen musician. He's played bagpipes, guitar, piano, and saxophone over the years, but not all at the same time. That would be quite difficult. Now, our last nominee, Kevin. Kevin was born and educated in rural Missouri. He has a Bachelor of Science degree in mechanical engineering from the University of Missouri, which he got in 1993. He pursued a successful career in the automotive industry, working as a controls and systems expert for major manufacturers like GM, Ford, and Toyota. He also helped pioneer the electrification of the modern consumer vehicle and has 9 patents in the USA and 2 in Europe. Kevin's involvement in Clan Logan comes from his love of Scottish culture and history. Heraldry especially excites him, and he's building a library of books and other items that align with all of these interests. His favorite book in the library so far is his 1959 copy of Simple Heraldry, cheerfully illustrated by Ian Moncrief and Don Pottinger. I'm glad that it was illustrated cheerfully because I'm not sure what the other alternatives would have been. Kevin's passion has always been for his family. He's the proud father to 5 children. He also has a stepdaughter and 5 grandchildren. He lives with his wife Lisa in rural Michigan, and his family figures prominently in the symbols of his recently assumed arms, most especially in his motto, Familia Cor Hominis, which is Latin for family is the heart of the man. All right, and now that you hopefully know each of the 3 nominees a bit better, we'll get into our question and answer round. Again, each nominee will have a minute per question, and just for full transparency, I put the ordering of who answers each question when through a random number generator, so it's entirely random. We'll be skipping around, but that's just to make sure that there is no bias in selecting how the questions are asked, and also to avoid repetition if some person is always going first. So, with that, I will start off with Stephen for the first question. After Stephen will be Kevin and then Robert. And this first question is simply, why do you want to be commander of Clan Logan? So, Stephen, take it away.
Can
Stephen,
you
you're
hear me?
muted. Don't worry, I won't count that against you in your time.
Sorry. Being commander of Clan Logan is a role I would deeply cherish because it would allow me to honor my rich heritage, preserve traditions, and foster unity within the community. With many years of community service experience across various groups, my passion for our clan history and culture is deeply rooted in my Scottish heritage. My mother, Margaret Logan, has been a profound inspiration in my work for Clan Logan. I am very proud of the values and traditions she's handed down to help me shape my path. As commander, I aim to continue these efforts, representing our clan with pride, dedication, and integrity. Together, we can strengthen our bonds, celebrate our heritage, and inspire future generations of Clan Logan.
Thank you, Stephen. Kevin, how about you go now?
It's better to say that I wish to continue leading the search for the chief of Clan Logan, and that is what the commander will do. I wish to help Clan Logan in every way I can to find and restore the chief of name and arms of Logan. Me becoming commander of the name Logan is the next necessary step to this restoration. I've been heavily engaged in the search for many years, and I am the most qualified person to continue leading the future efforts as Clan commander. As time is limited to answer these questions, I invite everyone to read more detailed answers from me on my blog at the address shown here And if you wish to email me with further questions, there's my email address below it.
Thank you, Kevin. And next up, Robert.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all, wherever you are. For me, there are four main reasons to spearhead and rejuvenate the hunt for our chief, to continue and try and increase interest from our wider family in Scotland specifically, to have a voice for the Logans and the Scottish clan, heraldry, family history circles, and events that represent us, the Logans. And in line with the Lord Lion's guidance, given the role and the links to clans and families with Scotland and its people, I want to try and keep this role in Scotland where our clan originated. Thank you.
Thank you all. And I am impressed at this timing because I was expecting to have an issue, but you are all doing fantastic. So thank you for that. Next up, we'll have Robert first answering the question, what qualifies you to be commander?
I'm a very proud Logan and a very proud Scotsman. I was born and reside in Scotland with direct family history, as Caleb mentioned earlier, going right back to Ayrshire in the 1700s, based on what I've researched to date. As Caleb said, I'm a fellow of the Society of Antiquaries in Scotland. And trying to generate more interest in the Logan clan in Scotland as we head towards the convention and to keep this interest growing thereafter. And through a long and varied professional career holding many executive chief officer positions, I've developed strong leadership skills, the ability to think strategically, the ability to unite and motivate people, excellent communication skills, and a reputation for fairness and integrity. I believe these qualities qualify me to be commander.
All right. Thank you, Robert. Next up will be Kevin.
Of the nominees, I uniquely have a proven nearly 10-year record in working with a wide variety of others in the search for the hereditary chief. I was born to the surname Logan and am always proud of my name and my heritage. I possess sufficient worldly means to provide for my travels as commander. I'm courteous and friendly to those I meet. I've developed good relationships with Logans in many countries who are allied to the work of finding the chief as well. I've worked with amateur and professional genealogists both, and I've written on the subject as well as edited the writings of others for clarity and correct alignment to the known facts. I've built resources and indeed made friends in many organizations such as the Office of the Lord Lion and the Standing Council of Scottish Chiefs. These relationships will factor positively in the search for the chief.
Thank you, Kevin. And now last up, we have Stephen.
My qualifications for the role of commander are rooted in my extensive involvement, dedication, and leadership with Clan Logan. My fluency in both English and French allow me to connect with a broader audience. Over the years, I've actively participated in numerous Scottish events, proudly representing the clan in Canada, France, and the United States. My membership in cultural community organizations like the Royal Canadian Legion or the Lions Club demonstrate my commitment to serving others. Additionally, my strong connections with the clan community illustrate my ability to foster, unify, and promote our cherished traditions. My strong communicative and interpersonal skills enable me to effectively engage with people, build relationships, and represent Clan Logan with distinction. Moreover, I have the diverse leadership roles in various organizations, which have equipped me with the experience and insight needed to support and guide the clan.
Thank you, Stephen. Again, all of you staying right on top of that time. So, next up, we have question number 3, which will start with Kevin. And this is, what will you do in the first 5 years as Clan Logan commander?
I will continue the work that I've already set precedent by doing for nearly a decade. I'll continue to share our search for the chief story via social media. I'll work closely with Clan Logan Society International and the Clan Logan Charitable Trust of Scotland. I'll conduct further research on George Logan of that ilk and his children, and I'll make a full accounting of records held by the Lord Lion's office that may relate to the Logans of that ilk. While others might spend much of their first 5 years getting their legs under them as they've not been actively working in the search, I am already well versed in the previously completed work, where the pitfalls and our successes have been found, and where the search should most likely continue.
Thank you, Kevin. And next up, Stephen, what will you do in your first 5 years as commander?
Over the next 5 years, I plan to represent Clan Logan internationally by promoting our heritage and strengthening our global connections and actively participating in Clan Logan gatherings. My strategy includes active participation in international Scottish festivals, building and continuing existing partnerships with other clans and various organizations, enhancing our online presence, and acting as an ambassador for Clan Logan. These efforts will ensure our legacy continues and inspires future generations, offering a renewed interest in our clan.
Thank you, Stephen. And now, Robert, what will you do in the first 5 years as commander?
For me, this is all about planning, discussing, taking action, and representing, specifically creating a plan of attack for the hunt for the chief, and continue on the great work the Society's done to date, planning resources carefully as to who can help and how, creating a detailed timeline throughout the years, spreading the word through various communication channels, fundraising through various channels, i.e., charity and grants, attending events to represent the clan. And in my eyes, this is more like a business project than anything else, albeit a very pleasurable and valuable one for us, and as such should be planned out accordingly.
Thank you all. Next up will be a bit of a two-part question, so hopefully 1 minute will turn out to be enough for this one. What is your strategy for finding the chief, and will you do anything different than what the clan has been doing since around the year 2000? For this, we'll be starting with Robert.
I believe the clan's been very diligent in its approach to date, and to be honest, I would continue on that path. However, I'd also like to emphasize these points. There'll be a lot more need for further professional assistance. I mean, with the best will in the world, visiting the records offices and other physical venues will represent the best chance of success. And let's face it, many of us have day jobs. Searching for elderly Logans through old-fashioned approaches, e.g. adverts in the Ayrshire Advertiser, the Ardrossan Herald, things like that, in the hope of finding old paperwork and family heirlooms, etc. Using modern social media to find children and grandchildren with older parents and grandparents, hence trying to entice more interest. And also reviewing the starting point, which was the Logan Home Book, and also the possibility of extending research back beyond 1672 and the Lord Line Register. We know some of our early Logans had arms and heraldic insignia long before, therefore there may be opportunities to do something there.
Thank you, Robert. And Stephen, what about your strategy for finding the chief? Stephen, you're on mute.
Not gifted. My strategy to find the chief will leverage on modern technology and international collaboration, working with various partners and organizations in the Scottish community and elsewhere, building on the successful work done by Clan Logan International with the Chief Project, collaborating with the clan genealogists, social media, and virtual meetings to connect with potential candidates. Engaging the global clan community through various forums and discussions will also be key in gathering support.
Thank you, Stephen. And Kevin, what will your strategy be?
I will continue on the path that I've already set precedent in doing. I'll follow up on our current leads, and I'll improve the fundraising opportunities to meet the needs of the project. To add to this strategy, I'll ask for permission to complete a comprehensive search of the archives of the Office of the Lord Lion. As a commander of the name Logan, it will be appropriate for me to ask politely to inspect the family records of other clans to see if there are clues to the Logans of that ilk in them. I'll apply to join organizations that might aid in the renown of Logans and our search for the chief. I will complete what is known as the Tartan Trail to further hone my research and documentation skills. I'll represent the family and clan of Logan at social occasions, such as Highland Games, in order to increase the public's awareness of our quest.
Thank you, Kevin. And before we move on, sorry, I know that we tend to use some jargon when we're discussing families and things like that. So, for anyone who doesn't know, Logans of that ilk just refers to the Logans who are from the land called Logan. So, instead of saying Logans of Logan, we avoid the repetition by calling them the Logans of that ilk. Now, on to our fifth question. That will be if you do not become the commander, how will you support the work of finding the chief? For this, we will start with Kevin.
I will continue in the work I've been doing for many years now along this historic journey. As president of Clan Logan Society International, I will maintain our focus on finding the chief by continuing to grow a respected, well-known Scottish heritage society of Logan family and friends with an expanding global membership. The society will be capable of raising necessary funds that provide resources for the search for the chief. I will always make myself available to help the commander with any questions he might have as he's learning his way. I'll speak to clansmen and women on the importance of our shared quest, and I'll aid in any other capacity of which I'm able.
Thank you, Kevin. And next up, we have Stephen.
If I do not become commander, I'll continue the search of the chief through my own organization, Clan Logan Canada. I plan on being as active as before, if not more, collaborating with Clan Logan Society International and sharing any potential candidates, leads, and information I uncover. Together, we will collaborate and work towards the same goal of finding a chief and preserving our heritage.
Thank you, Stephen. And next up, we have Robert.
A fairly sort of similar theme running here, but for me, it'll be all about supporting the new commander as much as possible and giving as much of my time, energy, and funds where appropriate as possible to support the search program and to make progress. I'm sure the new commander will have a detailed plan and need resources to help with particular actions. So that's my one, short and sweet.
Thank you, Robert. And we'll be returning to Robert for the start for our sixth question. That will be, what have you done to date that has supported finding the chief?
In all honesty, most of my research on Scotland has been focused on my own family line and general Scottish history when I've had time to indulge in that passion of mine. I did work with some of the society on a charity application for Scotland in preparation for the new commander to utilise. And I did try and help a little with the convention, but professional life got in the way. So unfortunately, I have done very little to date in terms of supporting the chief.
All right. Thank you, Robert. And next up is Kevin.
The fact that we are having this convention is due to my leadership. After I negotiated the hiring of Dr. Dury, the highly regarded genealogist, John's and my work with him showed that we were not going to achieve our goal of finding the chief on the path we'd followed for 20 years. I proposed to members of the society that we should ask the Lord Lion, King of Arms, for permission to hold a supervised convention. After almost 18 months, we are nearly ready to hold that convention. I have led the team putting together the convention and played an active role in advertising, graphics design, and decision making whenever there was a question about our plans. The successful conclusion of this historic convention of the family and Highland clan of Logan will be secondary in modern history only to the eventual finding of our hereditary chief. I am very proud to have led Clan Logan into this historic period.
Thank you, Kevin. And now we have Stephen.
Over the past 10 years, I've actively hosted and participated in Highland games and events, and with a proven track record of community service, giving Clan Logan notable visibility in Canada and elsewhere, connecting with Logans on the ground to see if they might be related to the chief. Tirelessly searching for our chief, I've taken every opportunity to inform members, the wider community about Clan Logan Society International Chief Project, soliciting donations to support our efforts. My dedication to this cause reflects my commitment to preserving heritage and finding the chief.
All right. Thank you, Stephen. And we are doing great on time, so I think we'll have a lot of time for audience Q&A if that interests you all. But moving on to the seventh question, that will be, how would you explain the significance of having a chief to someone just learning about Clan Logan? For this one, we'll start back on Stephen.
As a teacher, I've learned that it's important to share your passion in a way that people will understand and relate to them in their lives, and it's the same for explaining the significance of the chief. Having a chief is significant because the chief serves as a symbolic leader, representative of our clan's rich heritage and traditions. The chief embodies the values, history, and culture of Clan Logan, providing a sense of identity and continuity for each member. The role of the chief also fosters unity and pride with the clan, guiding us in preserving and promoting our Scottish heritage for the generations to come.
Thank you, Stephen. And next up, we have Robert.
I find this to be a really good question, so well done to whoever comprised that one. I think it used to be an easy answer back in ancient Scotland, but in today's modern society, it's a much more difficult answer. Although the clan chiefs are recognised in Scottish law and also by the king, they've no real powers and are mainly figureheads or indeed social dignitaries. That said, the significance of having a chief gives credence to the clan amongst others. It creates a figurehead of family, gives us a seat at the table of standing chiefs, ensuring maximum relevant representation, and also provides a historical reference point for future years, safeguarding the continuation of the clan and the family.
Thank you, Robert. And Kevin, how would you explain the significance?
Having a chief of name and arms of Logan will allow us to fully reclaim our rightful place in Scottish history. The Logans, being a proud family with a long history in the founding of Scotland and before, seek to be counted among the other clans with our proper place in history understood. Finding our long absent chief of name and arms will add to the prestige and acceptance of the clan and allow us to more fully take part in the telling of our history.
Thank you, Kevin. And Robert will be returning to you for our eighth question. How do you plan to represent Clan Logan internationally over the next 5 years?
My first response was, well, I guess that depends on the role, but although I think the overall answer is very similar, to be honest. If I'm not the commander, then I'll continue to work on increasing interest in Scotland and supporting the hunt for the chief. However, if I am commander, then that's the same sort of answer, but it becomes a sort of larger geographical task across international boundaries, including visiting games, events across the globe where the family are based.
Thank you, Robert. And now we have Stephen.
I plan to represent Clan Logan internationally by promoting our heritage and strengthening our global connections as I've always done it as such. My strategy includes active participation in international festivals, building and continuing existing partnerships with other clans, actively searching for Logans in each country, establishing Logans organizations worldwide, enhancing our online presence. These efforts will ensure our legacy thrives for future generations.
Thank you, Stephen. Next up, Kevin.
I will follow the precedent I've already established as the president of Clan Logan Society International. One of the best ways I can represent Clan Logan internationally is by continuing to reach out to clan members of the different nations. In working with those members, I can put together an effective plan that allows me to attend their local Highland festivals and games, their Burns night suppers, and any other event that might excite a large Logan turnout. I brought together the leadership of the society for the first time in over 100 years at a recent event, the Highland Games in Estes Park, Colorado. In organizing this event, I showed how effective a coming together like this can be. We had over 50 Clan Logan members walk with us in the parade that year. It continues to pay off in camaraderie and membership growth.
Thank you, Kevin. And on to our ninth question. What worldwide events do you believe should be prioritized to attend in person as the representative of Clan Logan? We will start here with Stephen.
As the representative of Clan Logan, I believe prioritizing attendance is key in worldwide events. These would include events I'm already present at, like the Fergus Scottish Highland Games in Ontario, the Montreal Highland Games, various Burns nights, and various events, not just in Canada, but in the US, and of course in gatherings in Scotland, like the Braemar or Coal One, and other Highland Games in Scotland. I already host an average of 7 Highland Games for Clan Logan, and a very high number of events locally each year. By attending these events, we can promote Clan Logan's values, build international relationships, and ensure our legacy continues.
Thank you, Stephen. Next up, Kevin.
Certainly, the following Highland festivals and games will be on my list: Grandfather Mountain here in the USA, the City of Inverness in Scotland, Longs Peak Scottish Irish Highland Festival in Colorado, the Hororata Highland Games in New Zealand, and the Glengarry Games in Ontario as well. There are also excellent opportunities to represent Clan Logan at events like the biannual International Congress of Genealogical and Heraldic Sciences, which is coming up in 2026 in Italy, continuing to support my local St. Andrew's Society at monthly member meetings, and attending the quarterly meetings of the Board of Directors of Clan Logan Society International. The Society of Antiquaries of Scotland hosts online events that I will attend and in person whenever possible.
Thank you, Kevin. And finally, we have Robert.
There are lots of charity, heraldic, Scottish societal, and historics events during the calendar year, and it would be my recommendation that a representative of the Clan Logan should be involved in these circles. As we all know, it's sometimes a case of not what you know, but who you know, and these events provide an excellent opportunity to create lasting and important connections for the clan. This is, of course, in addition to Highland games and more traditional clan events across the globe.
Great. Thank you, Robert. For our 10th question, that will be, what will your objectives be when representing Clan Logan at events? Starting again with Stephen.
Being clan commander is a significant role with the clan, requiring clear objectives and professional demeanor at all times. Until the right person is found, my primary objective will be to actively seek out potential leads for the chief. Additionally, I will focus on promoting heritage, engage with the community, raising awareness, support cultural exchange, and representing our values with passion. By attending various events and fostering international relationships, as I currently am doing, I am to elevate the repute the Clan Logan worldwide.
Thank you, Stephen. And now we'll move on to Kevin.
My objectives are based on the precedents I've already set as a leader within Clan Logan. I've been representing Clan Logan at social occasions for a decade now. My objectives continue to be make clear to all that I meet that our family's fondest desire is to find the person who is able to inherit the title, the Chief of Name and Arms of Logan. Proclaiming the accurate history of the Logans and the development of the great nation of Scotland, discuss the histories of Logans worldwide so that people will understand the proud heritage in the family name. Encourage Logans who attend the event to get more involved in similar events by hosting hospitality tents, making their own presentations, and sharing their own personal stories of what excites them about their heritage as a Logan.
Thank you, Kevin. And now we move to Robert.
Yeah, I think it depends really on what the event is, but for me, if you're thinking about games, it would be represented by wearing the full regalia, taking my pipes if suitable, and being prepared to narrate the history of the clan and to contextually Scotland, and especially making things come alive with Logan stories like the Gowrie conspiracy, the posthumous court appearance, and Dark Robert of Fast Castle. That's not me, by the way. I think it's also making connections with other clans and families and working with them on mutually beneficial interests or projects.
Thank you. And now we will move on to our final question of this pre-planned portion of the event. We'll be starting with Stephen for this one. And the question is, how will you search for the chief if you do not live in Scotland? Or what about if the chief does not live in Scotland?
As a dual national of Canada and United Kingdom, I have the flexibility to live in Scotland whenever necessary, ensuring that my country of residence does not hinder my search for the chief. I will help to continue the successful work done by the Clan Logan Society International Chief Project by using the modern technology and international collaboration, connecting potential candidates by using social media platforms, virtual meetings, working closely with clan genealogists, and engaging global community through the various forums that we can have for input and support. This approach ensures effective search regardless of where the chief or leader resides.
Thank you, Stephen. Next up, we'll move to Robert.
Yeah, I think mine's quite a generic answer, but I think no matter who becomes commander, this is really a team challenge. And I'm sure I speak for my fellow nominees when I say that we'll be using our best endeavours to support our fellow family members in the search for our chief, and that's irrespective of geographical location.
Thank you. And finally, we have Kevin to close us out.
With the many advances in technology, it is no longer necessary to live within the borders of Scotland to search for a chief of a clan. Likewise, should the trail to the chief lead to other countries, it's not necessary to live in that country either. The Scots have done a wonderful job of digitizing and making available many of the records that we may still need to review. Recently, the Lord Lion has also digitized many of the records his office maintains. This will be of great help. There are many archival documents held in universities around the world. I've already used these online resources in searching for the chief. When I travel to events, I will include plenty of time to research local records. Thank you for taking time to meet with us today as we enter this historic era, and I appreciate you all considering me for Commander of the name Logan. Please reach out with any further questions.
All right, thank you all. So, like I said, that is the pre-planned portion. There are a couple questions in the chat, but if anyone wants to raise their hand through that Zoom feature, you can do so as well, and we will call on you in turn. So we do have a question from Nigel Logan regarding DNA evidence, which it looks like our genealogist already answered a bit, but if any of the nominees want to add, the question is, what role do you think DNA evidence should play in identifying the hereditary chief? And how do you see it complementing or balancing traditional records? And for this, let's start with do my random numbers. We are starting with Stephen.
Well, I believe that technology has really greatly improved in the last few years, and we should look at every step possible to make sure that we use the best technology to really find the right answers. And it's really, really important to use the genetic information so that we're able to really identify the person, the rightful person. And I think that really complements anything else that was ever done before historically.
Thank you, Stephen. Kevin, you'll go next.
While the DNA evidence can certainly point us in the right direction to who the person, the heritable chief might be, as Sean mentions in the note, it's not acceptable to the Lord Lion as part of our evidence. Although many of us have already submitted our DNA, including me, to the Logan Family DNA Project, that has helped us delineate the different people who have spread throughout the world as members of Clan Logan and trace our roots back to our Scottish and Irish heritage.
Thank you, Kevin and Robert.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm not really a fan of DNA in terms of this genealogical research. I think there is a great place for DNA in the modern world, of course, as we know, for crime, etc. But we don't have the DNA of all the Logans of the past, so it makes it very, very difficult. Well, you're a member of this line if you've taken a DNA test, but we're not sure where you are on this line or this line because we don't have that DNA. So I think rightfully the Lord Lion said, right, keep it out for now. I don't know if that'll last forever, but for now it's out, and I agree with that.
Okay. Thank you all. And next up, we have a question from Jack Logan. How have each of you engaged with the Clan Logan members on Facebook or websites, etc., to facilitate the members' involvement with input at various events, given that the Logan family is spread out across the world? Is there any intent to stand up a common Logan Commander website when you get the position? And for this question, we will start off with Kevin.
Sure, thanks for that question. I have been active in social media, especially with the Clan Logan items, for probably close to a decade now, engaging on the different topics that people bring up. It's nice in the Facebook group because people often come with their shared family stories and some information that helps our genealogists to delineate the different groups of Logans. So that is always really nice. In my personal writings and stuff, recently in the last 3 months, I think it's been, I started a blog so that people could get to know me better. And I make sure and share those blog writings in the Facebook page, on my own personal page. And then I have other social media accounts as well on X and LinkedIn. And I make sure to share those there as well so that I'm reaching out to the largest global audience I can find. Now, as to whether or not there will be a common Logan Commander website, if I'm chosen as commander, that is my intention. That was part of the reason for practicing by putting the blog up there, was so that I could get used to running a website on my own and making sure that I could communicate effectively with the global audience that the Clan Logan comprises.
Thank you. Next up, Robert, just to remind you of the question, I know it was a bit long. How have you engaged on social media, websites, etc., with the various constituents of the family Logan? And do you have any intent of creating a common meeting space?
Yeah, I think what I've tried to do of recent time is really use my LinkedIn account to try and connect with Logans around the world, but mostly aiming at Scottish and United Kingdom Logans in the first instance. Like I said, the interest from Scotland is not as high as it is from other parts of the world, because we live a lot of it anyway, so there are reasons for that. But at the same time, I'm using my business sort of presence to say, look, this is not a scam, this is not rubbish. This is a proper request for your help and attention, and I can do that through LinkedIn. I haven't used Spotify, I haven't used Facebook to a large extent because it's more difficult. There's a lot of sort of scammy stuff on there, and it's difficult when you're not sort of friends with people. You have a very limited audience, so the Clan Logan Society International has done a lot on Facebook very successfully, so there's no point in duplicating that effort. Do I think there should be a Clan Logan Commander website? Yeah, of course. Yeah, without doubt, there should be one of those. I have recently also set up a Clan Logan Scotland website again, just to garner that interest and point people to that place to sort of highlight, look, here's some information on the convention, etc., and here's where you need to go to get further information.
All right, thank you, Robert. And Stephen.
I think social media is extremely important. Through the years and through my involvement in various Highland games and events, I've always used Facebook, I've always used X, I've always used Instagram, and so on, always posted the events. And in my case, the events tend to come really fast. It's bang, 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 and I have to post them. And the reason I post every single event, it's not to show how much I'm doing and all the things that I do, but it's also to inspire other Logans to be active in their own community and to be proud of their own heritage and their own roots. That's part of it. And also by maintaining activities, you're able to invite other Logans to join you when they're in town. I think that's important. And for the answer about the website and the Commander website, yes, absolutely, I would go for that.
Thank you, Stephen. Next up, we have a question from Sean, and his question is, what do you all as candidates think that the time commitment for a commander should be, and how will you make that time commitment? For this, we will start with Robert.
Yeah, it's a very appropriate question. Given my recent experience of trying to help with the Clan Logan Society International and the convention and the charity, but also having a very, very demanding job, it became apparent that I just will that give me as much time this sort of project and direct the hunt? No, I guess it won't, but it's still up to me to make the commitment. I think the important thing is having a gang of people who are all passionate about the same end result, and that's finding the hunt for the chief. And I think the commander's role will be more that of director than doer, to be perfectly honest. But at the same time, whatever time he can carve out from his business life, if that is the case, then it'll be hugely important to dedicate as much as possible. Will I put a number on that? Not really. I'm not that brave at the moment. It'll be high, but that's about it.
Thank you, Robert. And next, we'll have Stephen.
I think it's very important to remember that when you're involved in a Scottish clan community, you only get what you put in. So time is very, very important in that context. I go to work and I generally do my Clan Logan stuff right next to it since 2006, 2007. I've always acted like that. Huge time commitment. I'm hosting 7 Highland games and over 20 somewhat activities a year at least. So I would integrate that in my duties as clan commander per se. That's what I would do, and also try to find other ways of reaching out, outside of Canada, in the US, and in Scotland. So it's important to get involved.
Thanks, Stephen. And last up, we have Kevin.
As you said in your opening comments about me, my family really is my passion, and that extends definitely into Clan Logan and the wider global scale. I have been working as the president for 3 years now, and I am fully committed to continuing on. I will probably be moving into a semi-retired lifestyle over this next year, and this is my passion project. This is where I intend to focus all of my time, all of my effort. Anything that doesn't revolve around my daily business and stuff is focused on finding the Clan Logan chief.
Thank you, Kevin. Now we have a question from Rusty, and that is, have you completed work or projects with each other? What is your experience working together? For this one, we will be starting with Stephen.
Well, I've worked with Clan Logan International. I was representative of Quebec for a few years, representative of France when I lived in Bordeaux, Aquitaine. So it's very important to gather the community. And I also became Commissioner of Canada, which allowed me to really spread my wings when I came back from Europe. So of course, and it's very important, although I'm in Clan Logan, Canada right now, it's important to work together. I can't stress that enough. Unity is important, right? So let's work together and let's get things going. So of course, and I look forward to working with other projects. If I'm not commander, I look forward to that.
Thank you. And next up, we'll have Kevin.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, as Stephen said, he and I have worked together for many years in Clan Logan Society International, quite a long time, I think. And Robert and I, as well, worked on the initial planning of the convention until time got away from him, and he had to back out for a little while. I have no doubt that both of them will remain firmly engaged in the search as we move forward. It's nice, though, it's not just the two of them. When I look at this screen of people, I can count half a dozen or more faces right on this first page here of people that I've worked with over the last decade in different areas, especially most recently with Linda and Tricia and Joanne on planning the upcoming convention. So yes, we've worked together and we will continue to work together going in the future.
Thank you, Kevin. And now, Robert.
Yeah, I think both gents have described the process really well in terms of how, what we have done together. I think for me, the overall answer is just along the lines of, when everybody's united with one real objective behind us, then it makes it easy to align and chase down that objective. It also makes it very easy for all of us to work together. There not to be any sort of airs and graces, and it's just, we're aligned on this project. So I think that's the important thing is just we're one team, we're with one objective at the end of the day.
Thank you all. And the next question is hopefully not going to be too difficult. This is from Marjorie. So we live in a pretty volatile time politically. I don't know how soon that will calm down, but regardless of whether it does or not, do you think that the clan should remain apolitical? Should it take sides, whatever that side may be? What are your thoughts on that? For this, we will be starting with Robert.
Thank you very much, random generator. Yeah, I think the clan should definitely remain apolitical on this particular question. I don't think it's of any real value to the clan to go down this route or go down that route, and to follow national differences that give rise to international issues. I could give examples, but I won't because I would like to stay apolitical. So that's my.
Thanks, Robert. Next up, we have Stephen.
Very important, and I'll never say it enough. Avoid politics at all costs. Avoid politics. Every time that I've done anything with Clan Logan, I had to do representations here and there. I'm trying to gather membership. To gather membership, I have to be neutral and I have to not offend anyone as much as possible because having an opinion is expensive. And even when I visit other countries, when I go to the United States, when I go elsewhere, I'm very, very careful. I don't say anything politically. You're not representing yourself. I'm not representing Stephen Logan. I'm representing Clan Logan. And then it's about it's about the family. It's about what we represent. We have our hands full with culture and heritage. We don't need the politics. Let's just get along and just move forward. That's my key.
All right, thanks, Stephen. How about your thoughts, Kevin?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with Robert and Stephen any more on this subject. The Clan Logan is about the family. It is about our coming together, and it is about unity. A few weeks back, I wrote on my blog about unity and how I saw it as the key to the success of Clan Logan. We want everybody, every one of our members, to feel like they belong, and staying away from divisive issues should not be a problem. You should be able to feel like you're welcome and at home anytime you're talking with somebody from Clan Logan.
All right. Thank you all. And the next question is more about your business approach to this process. So, as a leader, what business challenges do you anticipate in the operations of the day-to-day life of a commander? What is your philosophy for managing, directing, hiring, etc., all the employees, contractors, and volunteers that you might have? For this question, we will be starting with Kevin.
Um, Seeing this as a business challenge, I suppose if you looked at it that way, the first thing is always the budget. How much money do you have to accomplish the goals that you have? It's not inexpensive to hire professional genealogists, which we will likely do again. It's not inexpensive to make copies and request different genealogical records. It's not inexpensive to set up websites so that you can communicate with people. So funding will always unfortunately be one of the top two challenges that the commander would face. And so I think it's important that we recognize that. The second thing is bringing together a good group of people to help in the quest. And I think over the last 3 or 4 years, especially since I've been president of the society, I have managed to do that. I've got some great leadership surrounding me in this. And I got really fortunate in identifying Sean Logan through our work together on the Logan DNA project as being an excellent genealogist. I think that in working with Sean and others like him in the Clan Logan, we will knock out this finding the chief of name and arms within the next decade.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. And next up, we have Robert.
Yeah, very good question. And I think in agreement with Kevin, really what we're facing here is really things like resource, time, and funding. Identifying resources might not be too difficult because, there are a lot of people passionate about this project, and therefore we would have a lot of hands. I think time might be a real challenge because, there are people who have some time and there are others who don't. Finding enough time to get to do this justice might be a bit of a challenge. And of course, I agree with Kevin in terms of funding. It's not going to be cheap. I think the thing we need to really do, and it's a very difficult one, but if you're treating it as a purely business kind of approach, then it's all about accountability, and giving us all a task and actually getting that task done when we expect it to be done, so that there's a good sort of process going. There's no bottlenecks or failures, and the process breaks down. So if it becomes very businessy in that sense, but at the same time, I think as a family, we can't really drive it like that because it's not really in our best interests, and that it may well demotivate some people if we treat it like that. But I think those are the challenges for me.
Thank you. And Stephen, your thoughts.
Business strategy is very important, and it's very difficult to recruit members in the clan because there are dues to be paid, and most people just don't understand why they have to pay these dues. So I think we have to get people together in the clan, have a look at who has what talent, give them projects to work on that they'll find value in, so that they feel that they're part of a greater clan, and that we can move forward together. I think this is very, very important. We have to advertise lacking positions if we need a genealogist, if we need this. We have to advertise the position and show people the value they can get out of it. We need to do fundraising. Of course, I've done various events with fundraising through the various organizations, Royal Canadian Legion, the Lions Club, and so on. Fundraising is very, very important, and how we can find money to continue on and go build other projects as well.
Okay, thank you all. And next up, the question is, how would each of you approach someone who claims that they've identified the chief, although they may lack some reliable evidence, to say the least. For this question, we'll be starting off with Robert.
Yeah, that's a very good question, and I think it's going to be a difficult proposal when we have a situation such as that. It's up to us to kind of research and gather the necessary documentation to all get behind a particular claim for the chief. And if we, as a family, are not comfortable with that, then we can't go forward to the Lord Lion and say we recommend this person for these genealogical reasons. So I think if there are parts missing in somebody's hereditary claim, then we'll have to go back and review and try and find them. Or I think it might be as brutal as, I'm sorry, we can't accept that nomination. But I think it would be something we'd have to look at in close detail.
Great. Thank you, Robert. And now Stephen.
Yes, I think it's very important to gather the information. So if the person comes up to you and says, "Oh, I think I have a lead on the chief and have this information," so it's trying to find out where he got the information, where she got the information, and then gradually investigating it and just seeing the probability to see if it's worth going further with that, with the clan genealogist and other sources as well. So it's important to have a good look at that because it gets expensive to do genealogical research. I did my own genealogical research in my Logan line. It's not free, but at least you have the right answers. So then it's a question of finding how we would finance that, how we would find funds together. So we gather the clan together to try and elaborate a strategy for that. In the case that we find something conclusive.
Thank you, Stephen. And Kevin, you're up.
Yeah, so many of you may not be aware, we've already faced this challenge once before in the past. We had someone who was incredibly well documented with their family chart, and it connected in so many ways with the history that we already had. And the main thing we did was we hired a genealogist to research that one key point that they couldn't make. It was a one generational gap. And by working with the professional genealogist and coordinating with the individual, it was determined that they were not the fit. Now, the key thing in doing all of this, beyond just doing the solid research and hiring a professional to make sure the documents are correct, it's really important to ensure the privacy of that individual, because if you're putting your name out there and you really think it's you, you don't want it to turn out to not be you. And some people might be embarrassed. I don't think it would be embarrassing in my personal view, but some people, that they're going to want to retain their anonymity. So we have encountered this and we know how to deal with it, and we can do it in a quiet and respectful manner for all those involved.
Thank you, Kevin. And the next question is a follow-up from Marjorie's earlier question, and that is, the person that we choose for commander could potentially become the chief if we don't find heir to the Logans of that ilk. In that chief role, do you think that the chief should be political, or again, would you rest on your apolitical leanings as you all responded to that earlier question? For this one, we will be starting with Stephen.
I think it's very important to be careful when it comes to things that are political. If I would become the chief of Clan Logan, I would abstain from anything that is too highly political, because once it's out in the media, it can make the clan look bad. I would never, ever want to do that. We have to think about who we're representing as a people before we make a statement. And if we're not sure of what we have to say in front of other people, we have to ask the clan members and see at the head of the clan to see what they think of that. So if I become the commander and I have a speech planned for an event, I would consult my representatives of Clan Logan and say, "This is what I'm planning to say. What do you think about this?" We need to really be careful what we say and how we act.
Thank you, Stephen. Next up, we have Kevin.
Yeah, so this is similar in nature to the original question. There's no reason for the chief to become political. The politics of the many different nations that the Clan Logan resides in our modern world are going to differ widely. There's no doubt about that. Everything's governed as constitutional republics or as monarchies, or in some instances, I'm certain that we have Clan Logan members who are living in tyrannies as well. So us spending too much time being wrapped up in political questions and everything, it
Hmm.
won't help us support our Clan Logan members worldwide. And that's what I see the chief of Clan Logan doing, is the support and the bringing together of the family members from around the globe and representing them in the best positive light possible.
Thank you, Kevin, and you are up, Robert.
Thank you. I think, yeah, in general, I agree with both Kevin and Stephen, but I think in this context, I think the question was around the clan chief, and I don't think it's political in the terms of the politics that we know from the Parliament, etc., etc. But I think there will be an element of political behaviour needed in terms of more corporate politics. The clan chief will be mixing with some, very senior people who are, quite high dignitaries, and there will be an element of politics needed to survive in that particular circle of negotiations and discussions and speeches. So I think there'll be a small element needed, but definitely not with government politics, shall we say.
Thank you all. And next up, we have a question from Joanne. That is, what do you see the biggest challenges to be in finding the chief, and how would you overcome them? For this one, we will be starting with Kevin.
Beyond just the funding, which I addressed earlier, the biggest challenge I see in finding the chief is those gaps in the records that I talked about. We're talking about records that are centuries old that may actually not even exist anymore. My plan to overcome that is by using the digitized resources that are coming online and really making sure I'm familiar with how to scan through those. The Lord Lion has recently added heraldic records, which I think will be invaluable. And there are other things like the Hattie Charitable Trust that has digitized a lot of really old manuscripts. Many of them contain heraldic identifications, older maps, things that we haven't seen before. So to get around the lack of like genealogical records that most people think about that relate to just family lineage, there's an opportunity to look for heraldic claims. There's also an opportunity to study the ancient maps and the land holdings that have been recorded in different townships, different villages, things like that. So it will be a spreading out and understanding all of those resources that are available that will eventually lead the commander to a successful search.
Thank you, Kevin. And next up, we have Robert.
Yeah, I think it's an easy one to agree with Kevin there. I think it is going to be actually finding the records to support the chief, and it's going to be a very difficult proposal. I think in a lot of cases there is a lot digitized, but I think out there I firmly believe there's a lot that isn't digitized, and that is perhaps in somebody's cupboard or attic or some sort of hereditary heirloom that's sitting. I know that's dad's or mum's old stuff. There's some recent examples of some documentation that came out of a very old castle, and it's quite historic and important stuff. And I firmly believe that there's that existing somewhere for the Logans. So I think, like I said earlier in one of the earlier questions, it's about finding ways to find that using either traditional media attempts or building the network and communicating with some of the older folks who are of the Logan name. So I think it's kind of, a double spearhead, digital and non-digital in my mind.
Thank you. And Stephen.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult because we're somewhat a victim of our own history, right? Things have happened, registries have burnt, and so on. So we've lost many records. So it's also finding the money to do the research on these various claims and so on. So I completely agree with the other nominees in the sense that it requires a lot of funding and it requires detailed research. And I think it's very important to get the clan active in that as much as possible as well, and ask even the clan members, if they have any relatives and so on, and just see if it's possible with the clan genealogist and the group, if to see to find the best way forward, because we have to save money on this in a certain way too, because it gets expensive to do genealogical research, and then we have to find the funding for that. So I think it's a step-by-step process depending on the claim.
Okay. Thank you, Stephen. And our next question is from John. This is, do you know of other clans that you would model your leadership of Clan Logan on, or Clan Logan in general on? What do they do well, and what are your most outlandish ideas for what can be done in the next 5 or 10 years? Here we will start with Robert.
Yeah, that's a good question. Very good question. I think one of the clans I've been very impressed with recently has been the McEwen clan. And we've sort of followed a lot of their advice and guidance as we've gone through our approach to convention. And yeah, they really have been an invaluable source of information for us and a great help. And I think that's a good one. I've also, when I was looking at some of the charity constitution stuff, I looked at some of the other clans. I can't remember all the names. I'm having a senior moment. Um, but there are some great examples to follow through on in terms of which ones are good. What do they do well? Well, they just sort of have a great presence. They have a great sort of general geographic spread of members. They have gatherings and they have regular meetings, and it's they represent themselves really, really well, both digitally and sorry, both on social media and physically. Um, one of my most outlandish ideas is really to have a sort of Clan Logan Centre somewhere, and we did enter that into the charity constitution. I think it would be wonderful to have something somewhere that is very relevant to us all, and that we can sort of visit and look at history and sort of have discussions and perhaps have a wee coffee shop or something like that. So I think that would be great. I think the challenge will be the timing of 10 years. It's going to be at least 5 years for the commander to do his job, perhaps another 5 years. And then it could be another 10 years until we can find the chief or at least get to that point. I hope it doesn't take that long. We'll all be driving to make sure it doesn't take that long, but in some cases it just may. So it's not a fast process, unfortunately, but that's my hope one day.
Thank you, Robert and Stephen.
I have to say, that's a really interesting question because I've been involved with clans and Scottish Societies of Canada for many, many years. So I get to see the various clans at various Highland games, various places, and they all have their own style. Now, I try to be very careful with that because what works for one may not work for the other. But among the clans I thought was really interesting and that I had at my own Montreal Highland Games was Clan Bell, because Clan Bell has a very distinct branding. They have a way of doing things where all the tents look very clean, very similar. And they also, very interestingly enough, have a way of integrating the Bell members very well through their events and bringing everyone together. So I think there are lessons to be learned there. And when I got Clan Bell in Montreal as clans and communities director there, I actually helped them out with their material and translating that to French. So giving them a hand and building those relationships with various clans is very, very important because there's always something to be learned. And of course, Clan McEwen, which has work done with the commandership, they could be a great asset for us and give us pointers as to the what we do next. So I think that's all good.
Okay, thank you. And Kevin?
Yeah, like Stephen, I've worked with a lot of different clans over the years. And when I read this question, there were four really that came to mind, and for different reasons. And I'll second and third Robert and Stephen's mention of Clan McEwen. For those of you who have not met Ross McEwen, he is a dynamic leader in that clan, and their clan just finished their nominating convention or confirmation convention for the chief of Clan McEwen. So they're about 10 years, maybe further, ahead of us on it. There's also Clan Buchanan that came to mind because I think they were without a clan chief for over 800 years. And through the persistence and dedication of a few key people and their patience with a leading genealogist, they managed to find it. But it took them probably 3, maybe 4 decades, I think, to complete it. So their pluck and their determination is really a guidepost. And then for me personally, there's the learned kindred of Curry. And part of the reason it sticks out is the leader of the Learned Kindred of Curry is a commander who also resides here in the USA that I've gotten to know a little bit. And he and their clan are probably about 7 years ahead of us in their search. He's been the commander for about 7 years. And so they've got at least another 3, if not much longer to go. So in working with these people, it has really helped. But the key person or the key clan is the clan of Marchbanks. As many of you know, our former heritage officer, John Marchbanks, is the one who really started doing all of the digging to help us find the chief of name and arms of Logan. And he did this based on what he saw his own father doing in his attempts to reclaim the heritage as the chief of Clan Marchbanks. So I've been lucky. I've been very fortunate, honestly, to get to know these great leaders in these other clans. And I can pattern a lot of future activities off of the knowledge these guys have imparted to me.
Okay, thank you all. And this will be just about our final question, and then we will wrap up. So this is when it comes to fundraising, what projects have you used past fundraising funds for to better the clan? And what do you foresee using future funds for the most? That is, would it all go to finding a chief, or are there other projects that you would like to fund? For this question, we will be starting off with Robert.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, fundraising's a good one because it's not always easy to do, but it's very, very valuable to do that. When it comes to past fundraising, I haven't been involved in that, so I can't answer that part of the question, but hopefully Kevin and Stephen can. What do I foresee using the future funds for? Well, I think there's a couple of things there. They will, of course, help us to go towards finding the chief. But I think in terms of our charity constitution, there are certain things we promised the Scottish Charity Regulator that we would do with funds, and that would be looking at grants for education, looking at sponsoring various students for different tasks, and just generally helping the public better understand the clan. So I think the fact that we want to fundraise is awesome. I think we need it for the finding the chief, like I say, but we must ensure that we use it across the board in terms of generating value for the clan.
Thank you, Robert. And next up, Kevin.
Sure. In the past, most of the fundraising that Clan Logan Society International has done has been in our membership dues. And to try and increase people seeing the value in becoming members, we've put into effect a lot of changes over the last year under my leadership. We have a much improved newsletter. I think all of you have been seeing copies of that coming to your inbox over the last 2 months. Linda has done a fantastic job there. And then obviously most of the funds that we raised were put towards the search for the chief. That's been the bulk of the fund expenditure for as long as I've been a part of the society. But I also noted when I first became president that there were opportunities that maybe we weren't taking full advantage of. And so I've set up a fund within the society's treasurers to support scholarships for people who are trying to do research, not just into Clan Logan, but also into the meaning of clan, the history of Scotland, things like that, so that, as Robert was saying, we're approaching it from the broader brush of our heritage in Scotland, not just the Logan family. We want to be able to be impactful in people understanding the great heritage that they all have as having come from Scotland.
Thank you, Kevin and Stephen.
I have to say, I've done a lot of fundraising activities with various groups. I've done fundraising with the Royal Canadian Legion, with the Black Watch, because I'm part of the regimental family, done spaghetti evenings, whatever, I've done it. And of course, the fundraising efforts that I have done have not been for Clan Logan specifically, but that doesn't mean I haven't learned a few tricks from all that we could use for our purpose. I think it's very important to continue working with the various communities like I do with the Scottish ones, the non-Scottish ones, get everyone involved because it's good for our visibility. But we can also, and with some events, split the funds and bring the money back to us for whatever we want to do. So, of course, as an ESL teacher, I think it's very, very important to help the young people. That's why I get invested with the Scottish bands and so on. So, raising funds for education is very, very important. Bursaries for the young Logans to go do doctorates or whatever it is that they need to do, help finance the arts. Those are part of my dreams, and even a sort of an award system for Logans who invest in their heritage and so on. So we can set foot with those projects and make us proud of our heritage, make us proud of who we are as Logans. This is very important.
Thank you. And now for the real final question. This is more of a contingency plan, I suppose, or succession plan. In the event that the commander fails at their job and does not find a chief, which who knows, that could happen. Um, will you have, and if the commander does become the chief, will you have heirs that can take over for you after you pass? How would the succession of the clan work at that point? For this one, we'll start with Kevin.
Yeah, I've been made aware that this is a really important topic. And right at the top, I do want to say that you do not have to be a male to inherit the chiefship. There are plenty of examples of females inheriting chiefships across many of the clans in the traditional Scottish system. I personally do have three sons and two daughters who all five of them still carry the Logan surname. So as far as a line of succession, I think I've got that covered.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Next up, Stephen.
So I think a role of a commander, when a person is elected as a commander, I don't think that commander could ever fail. Because if you're elected to it, obviously you have the skills and the aptitudes, and you have the to do what needs to be done because you're not there for no reason. So I think that comes first in everything. So if, for example, the commander fails, well, I think failing is a big word. I think that the commander then has to look with the clan and see if there's anything else that can be done and maybe even get the clan going again to see if there's maybe someone who can step in temporarily in the role. Because I mean, like, I don't have any children, but what happens if I have a terminal illness or something horrible happens? It could happen to anyone. So we need a sort of a plan B, but that would be done with the help of the whole clan, I believe.
Okay, thank you. And Robert?
Yes, yeah, I do have two sons and I have a grandson, as Caleb kindly pointed out in the introduction. But I think the interesting part on the role of commander is it's not necessarily true that the commander will eventually become the chief. The commander is initially a term of 5 years. If the family don't think the commander is doing the job that they think he should do, then we can have another convention to appoint another commander. Or alternatively, if we get to the point where the commander's done two 5 year terms, and it's then a case of, right, let's recommend forward a valid claim can be considered. So there are distinct rules around, and it's not an automatic sort of your commander, you will become chief type situation. The commander's role is really to search for the chief. It's that's the most important point of the role, and not thinking about, oh, what's the future entail. No, get on with the present.
Thank you, and I hope we will do that. So just to wrap up, I did see a question in the chat about the connection between the Logans and the McLennans. That is really up to legend as per what I've found to date, and Kevin or Sean can correct me if I'm wrong, but the legend goes that there was a chief of the Highland Logans, the Logans of Drumderfit. They lived in Rossshire, and the chief was killed in a battle with the Frasers. Now, his widow was pregnant at the time of his death. She was carried off and gave birth to a son, but the son had deformities. So he grew up with the name of Crotoch, which means hunchbacked, and his last name, since he was the son of the chief named Gilligorm, his last name was McGilligorm. Now, he was not celibate, although he was a priest. They didn't remain celibate at that time. And he named one of his sons Gilly Finnan, and I don't quite know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, so apologies if I'm not. That meant that Gilly Finnan's son was McGillifinnan or McGillinan, and that eventually got corrupted to McLennan. So, in theory, the McLennans came from the Logans, but it's kind of just legend. So, I don't think anyone can say definitively. Before we wrap up, I want to remind everyone just about the dates again. So, I will share my screen. And I did see that there was also a request for the nominee slide again. So if you have any other questions for the nominees, their emails are at the bottom of this slide. You can feel free to contact them, and they all gave me permission to actually share their email, so I'm not surprising them with this. But if you have any questions, you can reach out and they will be accessible to you. You can also access them through other means on social media and the like. So again, upcoming deadlines, the most immediate one will be that 1st of March with the tours in Scotland. Then we'll have the 1st of April, which is registering for the post-convention luncheon event. The post-convention events will be paid. 1st of April is also the deadline to buy Logan labeled whiskey, and then the 13th is the deadline to register for the convention itself. And the 16th will be your deadline to tell me the choice of commander nominees. Again, that's to heritage@clanlogansociety.org. And a quick plug for donations. So there is another deadline of the 25th of March. You're able to sign up for convention program ad spots and memorials if you want to honor someone. Those range from $25 to $50, although you can give more than that. The important thing to realize here is that the convention day itself is a free event, so that includes all of the meeting space, the refreshments, the luncheon, the travel to St. John's in Newton Church, where the convention will be held, also all the program, printing materials, and IT support. Currently, we are at 67% of our $10,000 goal, but any little bit more will help. And thank you for everyone who has donated already. Thank you to Sean also for running a marathon and raising, I believe it was over $800 through that. To donate, you can go to clanlogansociety.org/convention donations. You can also just go to clanlogansociety.org, and if you hover over the family convention bar at the top, it'll have a convention donations page in the drop-down menu, and so you can click there. And am I missing anything, Linda or Aunt Tricia? Did you want to add?
Nothing here.
Great. All right. Well, thank you all for attending. Again, this will be recorded and we will share it with everyone at the end. Please email me as soon as possible with your choice for the commander nominee. The sooner you do it, the better, because I don't want you all to forget about it and miss out on having a say in this process. My email again is heritage@clanlogansociety.org, and you should have that through the many emails that I've been sending throughout this process. So with that, we can stop the recording and I'll check, make sure that there aren't any other issues in the chat that we need to take care of.
Is it a free for all now?
Uh-oh. Well, I don't know about that. Is there anything you wanted to address?
Oh, actually, I had one question. So is the whiskey like going to be